name's Georgia, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be making a gathered mini dress and I thought I'd bring you along for the ride, so let's get into it. I'm going to be using a lightweight fabric, it's a cotton. I actually got it off my nan, so I got it secondhand, which is great. So I just drew a quick little sketch of the dress I'm going to make. This is it, so it's just a little tiered dress with some gathers and just a simple front and back. So to make the pattern pieces for the dress I just showed you, I'm actually going to use the dress I'm wearing. I'm going to trace it off and I'm only going to use the top half because I like the neckline of this one. And then the bottom two tiers are just going to be rectangles and I'm going to gather them in. So pretty simple, and I'll take you along with me. Alright, so I've just folded my dress. This is the front bit and that's the back bit. So we're only going to trace half of the dress. Okay, so I just traced that off. That's the back piece, that's center back, so that'll be on folds, so it'll flip out. So that's the side seam of the back, that's the side seam of the front, so they'll be sewn together on the sides. That's the armhole, that's the front neckline, and that's center front. That's 16 centimeters from there to there. I also followed that line back onto the back as well, so they'll be equal. So I'm going to add some seam allowance to these because I haven't added that yet. Alright, so these are the patterns with the seam allowance. The seam allowance is the one with the lines all through it, just so you can see a little bit clearer. Everywhere is 1/2 inch all around. Okay, so to work out the length of the tiers, I'm going to use the same length as the dress that I traced. So the length of this dress is about 66 centimeters. So because this pattern piece is 16 centimeters from the neckline to where the first seam will be, I'm going to remove that from the total length. So that'll give me 50 centimeters. So that 50 centimeters will be the rest of the dress. So that's removing that bit. And then we've just got this, and because I want 2 tiers, I'm going to divide it by 2, so that's 25. So each tier will be 25 centimeters in width, and then we've just got to find out the whole circumference around to make it nice and gathered. So to find the full circumference of under the bust, I'm going to use my bust pattern pieces that I have. I'm going to measure this length along the bottom without seam allowance, front and back. I'm going to add those two together and then times them by 2, and that'll give me my measurement across, and I'll have to double that again so there's enough fabric for the gathers. My front was 22.5 centimeters. I'm going to add that onto the back, which was 24.3 centimeters. So 46.8 is only half the circumference. I want to know the full circumference, so I've got to times that by 2, which is 93.6. And now because I want to add gathers, I want there to be more fabric than what is on this seam. So I'm going to times that by 2. I'm just going to round it down to 180 just so it's a little bit easier. So that's our first tier. We're going to have 25 centimeters down and we're going to have 180 centimeters across. For our next tier, we need to find this seam here. So we're just going to times our 180 by 2 so there's enough gathers for that tier. So our next tier will be 360 centimeters. So that'll be across there and the 25 centimeters that we've worked out for the length that way. Alright, so got all the pattern pieces cut out. From the top, that's the front bust, that's the back, that's the first tier, and that's the second tier. I know they look kind of crazy because they're so big, but gathers take up a lot of fabric and it's a lot to deal with. These two are on fold, so this one will be even bigger and this one will be even bigger, so it's like huge. It's a couple days later. I've got all my patterns and everything here. I was going to make a toile of this dress, which is just a like practice garment in cheap fabric so you can see how it looks. But I've decided to just go for it. I'm just going to do it in the real fabric. I'm also going to add a lining, so I'm going to quickly draft just a simple A-line lining with the bust patterns. I'm just going to continue straight down along that side seam. I've got to make some straps as well. That's the back piece. See, I just continue the line down. So it's the exact same size as that. This one, the exact same thing, just trace that and continue that line down. So they are my lining pieces, my straps, and I'm ready to cut out now. I've just finished labeling all my pattern pieces. I'm gonna start cutting them out now. We're on to the fun part now. I've got everything cut out. I'm going to sew the straps first just to get them out of the way and done. And then I'll sew the main fabric and then I'll sew the lining fabric. This is my strap piece. I've just folded the fabric over itself so the right side is encased in the center. I'm going to sew right down the edge of this and then we're going to turn it inside out so the nice side is on the outside. Alright, so I've just sewn my straps. You can see the stitch line running across there. These little mini straps are for our adjustable like loops and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and trim the edge of these just so we can turn it inside out a little bit easier. To turn your straps to the right side around, I just use a safety pin. You can get an actual tool that's called a loop turner, I think, but a safety pin just works as well. So all you got to do is pin up the top, fasten it, turn it inside. The start can be pretty tricky, but you've just got to fiddle around with it. And be gentle because it can break sometimes if you're unlucky. And eventually you can just glide it out like this. And then you can just unpin the safety pin. There's one. This is what the adjustable strap will look like when it's done. I've just got it pinned here because I haven't actually finished sewing it, but this is what it'll look like from the back. And then you can adjust this to make it tighter or looser, and then this bit will be sewn into the front. We're going to grab our bust pattern piece and our back neckline. So now I'm going to put right sides together. And then we're just going to sew straight down that side seam. So that's what it looks like. You can just see it down there. So when you flip it to the right side, there's a nice clean seam. So I just went and overlocked the edges. If you don't have an overlocking machine, just use a zigzag stitch as close as the edge as you can so it stops the fabric from fraying. So we're going to put this bit aside that we've just sewn and we're going to move on to the first tier. So this is my first tier pattern. What we're going to do is, because this is already laying right sides together, I'm going to stitch the side seam together 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to overlock it and then I'll gather it. So I've just finished sewing those gathering threads. You can see them along here. I've done the full circumference twice and you can see I've left long tails. I haven't backstitched, so I'll be able to pull these threads and it'll become nice and tight. So I find this bit quite time consuming, so just take your time. Try not to pull too hard or break the thread when you're pulling it, because then you'll have to sew it all over again, which is frustrating to say the least. But this is how you do it. Sorry you can't see very well, but you're going to grab 2 of the top threads and then you're just going to start pulling gently. And you're going to use your other hand to move those pulls around the fabric. See how much smaller that is now? Okay, so I'm gonna grab the bust and back piece that I sewed before. So we want these gathers to fit this seam along here. So I'm slowly gonna loosen out these gathers. Alright, so I've got this to the right size now. I'm just gonna start pinning it and I'm gonna start spreading the gathers so it's quite even. You don't have to be perfect, but you just don't want too many gathers in one spot, so just spread them out evenly. Alright, so I've just pinned all my gathers. I've just played around with it a fair bit too to make sure it's even. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So I'm just going to sew a ½ inch around the whole thing. Alright, so I've just finished sewing the gathers of the first tier. I'm going to flip it out. This is what it looks like. There'll be like little threads and stuff everywhere, so you can just trim those. And then if you can see any of the stitch lines on the right side of the fabric, you can just unpick them and then overlock your seam allowance. So for the next tier, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do the 2 gathering stitches all the way around, and I'm going to pull it to the size of the bottom of this tier, so along here, and then I'm going to sew it in place again. So cut to that. Alright, I'm back. So this is the dress so far. I just pinned it up here so you can have a little look. I tried it on, it looks really cute. Happy with this length here as well, so that's good. I've just got to do the lining of it, and that's pretty much it. So I've just unpinned my lining pieces and I've put them right sides together. I'm going to sew down the side seams of these, and then I'm going to finish the hem, and then I'll sew the neckline of the lining to the neckline of the main fabric, and then it won't be see-through. You can probably hear the bugs because it's nighttime now, but I'm so determined to get this finished tonight that I'm gonna push through. So to attach the lining to the main fabric, we're gonna sew right sides together. So grab our lining. So this is the neckline of my lining, so the curve seam there. I'm going to line it up to the right side of the main neckline. And I'm just going to pin that around. I'm going to pin it all the way around, and then I'm going to sew it ½ inch. Alright, so I've pinned the neckline across. I forgot to say that we have to sew in the straps as well. So I'm not going to sew them like this. They're actually going to be underneath the white fabric, but on top of the main fabric. So they'll be sandwiched in between the 2 layers. So I'll show you that now. So that's the strap there, that's the main, that's the lining, and it's going to be sewn in between the 2 layers. You can't see very well, but I've attached the strap in at the front and I've just wiggled it the way around so it'll also be in the back, so it's sandwiched between those 2 layers again. And so when we flip it out, they'll be already sewn in. Alright, neckline has been sewn together. I'm just going to snip around some of the curved areas just so it sits better when we flip it out. So to flip it out, all you have to do is go from the bottom and pull it through. All you have to do is put the lining inside the main. See how the straps are sewn in like that? And at the back too. Looking good. Okay, I've tried it on. Looks really cute. I'm just going to give the neckline a good press, and I'm going to fix the straps because they're a little bit too long, but that's it, and I'll show you the finished product. So that's my finished dress. It's all finished now. One thing I thought of that I could have added looking at it now is some pockets on the side. So I could have added some pockets like in between these 2 gathers here. But that's not a big deal, I can add that in next time. I really love it, it's so cute. I honestly loved making this dress. It's super easy, super comfortable. It's great for summer, so if you're going into summer or you're in summer now, make it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys try and sew along at home. If you need any help, send me a message on Instagram or comment below or anywhere. I'll try to get back to you. Yeah, it's super cute. I'm super happy with it, and I hope you guys love it too. I hope you guys like the video. If you have any advice or like tips on anything to helping me make more YouTube videos, let me know. All right, thank you.